somebody who's able to overcome sin and when I sold myself when I was a little kid, or allegedly sold myself when I was about 12, it was a trick, but it was a trick that was done on me to try and destroy my sure how it was, but what it was supposed to do, because I hadn't really just been able to discuss it with the person that did it, or that tricked me. But when I believed in magic, I saw what looked like a gold coin or a sunrise rise into somebody's hand, and they like their right hand, they had their hand out and said to me, do you believe in magic? And it was like a little gold coin or a sun rose up in their hand, and I was asked if I believed that was my soul. I said it must be, I can see it. And then he came back another day and asked me a series of other questions. But after all this had happened, it had an effect, because this magic had an effect on the people that were around me, including my family. I said words go out my head when she asked me if she could be God. I've had a lot of experiences with these hallucinations. I'm told they're hallucinations, so yeah. Apparently these horns were coming out of my head as well, so yeah. But we should realise that somebody wanted to get me a long time before that, when I was a lot younger, and I'm pretty sure my grandmother was a part of a cult, or she knew about cult practices or other stuff that was going on concerning the calling up of the dead and seances and all that sort of thing. But yeah, when I was told by this voice in my head to say I was God when I was selling my soul, I said, dog may I. So I said what he told me to say forwards, backwards, and it must have caused problems for the system that was in place for this group of people who do whatever they do in the world. But yeah, since this kind of stuff started going on, and I was asked by a series of people, including my own family, how it is that they would overcome. And I didn't know what anybody was talking about. I was like, hey, overcome what, you know? I do remember asking a couple of times when people asked me, how do we overcome, or how does such and such overcome? And sometimes I would say just stupid stuff, like just stupid stuff, and it will be like my cousin Will I Am on my friends list on Facebook. I was asked how does Bill overcome? I can't remember who asked me. I think it was his wife. But I was asked how Bill overcomes, and I said, by thinking he's God, by actually believing he is God. And that's his thing. That's what, and it's all like some kind of a joke to my family and other people about how it is that they overcome. It's like they're making a mockery of the righteous people who do go to church and who do lead people to overcome addiction and alcoholism and other dysfunctional traits that we develop as abuse victims and neglect victims, that kind of thing as well. So going into church, I got a lot of help from these people and support to be drug free, and something that I think everybody can respect. Somebody who gives up drugs, but they don't really. A lot of the time, they don't really see the roots of why somebody became a drug addict, or why somebody decided to give up drugs. A lot of the time, I think that people, especially people maybe close to me, have thought of for quite shallow reasons. You know, look, I gave up drugs to get an old back, or I became a drug addict because I couldn't control myself, or I didn't find a partner. Like, I didn't marry to a woman because I was gay. I never got into a relationship because I had difficulty with getting close to people, which is pretty much the root causes of it. From what I can understand from a psychological perspective, people don't seem to want to go into details about why my sperm was taken when I was 12 years old by my mother. I got condoms for my 12th birthday, and I'll masturbate into a condom. I threw the condom in the bin in my bedroom, and when I came out the bathroom, I thought I shouldn't leave that in the condom. I should get rid of that somewhere, like flush it in the toilet or put it in the bin outside or something like that, because I didn't want somebody to find it. And when I went to go and get it, I couldn't find it. It was gone. And my dad knew what my mum had done, because they wanted me to have a son, because I think this thing, when I sold my soul, is like it's for like some kind of magical rite, for like seeing the rising sun or the rising dawn, or the what they call it, the golden dawn. You know, because it looks exactly like a brass coin, as Jesus was given for his church, which I belong. I belong to Jesus. Jesus bought me from the cross. Jesus owns my soul, and this is where things. Because people ask me, "Oh, can I be Jesus?" And it's like, because I was called another lamb when I sold my soul. I said I'd say this bloke's old person is supposed to be. So to cut a long story short, I was asked a lot of questions about God and Jesus by the guy who asked me if I wanted to sell my soul, and how they would sound, because heard a guy said God would be an old person, an old bloke, and said to me that I was another lamb. And when he said that, I had to repeat after the kid who was telling me what to say to sell my soul. Already things are getting confusing. Yeah. The point I wanted to make today about all this was that people think some really, really putrid, disgusting acts, like taking my sperm, or using some of the sperm what I used, some of the sperm what I blew out, was masturbating to make children. This is a crime against those kids. It's a crime against me, and it's a crime to keep your mouth shut about it. Yeah, I really stress it that people should not be people shouldn't be allowed to get away with this. And it's like really kind of angry at my family for not talking about it, and for lying about it, and I feel like I've been cheated out of my life. and I have to sort of play along with this sort of thing, like it's normal, it's okay, it's not, and it's not like they're a rich family that's that's got power over me and some kind of inheritance or something. They're just bums like me, and we ain't got nothing. And it's just like, why won't they talk about it? I don't know. Why won't they like one of the kids, she was born, and her mother forged a birth certificate on my behalf, and my own mother folded an adoption form in half so I couldn't read it. Got me after she'd asked me questions whether I'd had sex or not with one of my cousin's ex-girlfriends, Linda. Well, I shouldn't have really mentioned any names, but because this is going on Facebook, and some of them will be, my family will be watching it. But yeah, she forged a signature for the birth certificate, and I was never told about it. I don't know what she's told the girl about it. I know that she made an attempt to try and introduce us at one stage. It went pretty badly wrong. I was at a bad stage in my life. Her mum was a heroin user, and she got me on heroin. I wanted to have a go at it. I'd never tried it before. I'd seen people who had, and I was interested to see what it does. I don't like it. Yeah, it's not a drug for me. I was not happy with it. But Linda did try and get Ashley and myself to sort of introduce each other, but we didn't. I didn't realise who she was. I don't know what she was told, but I didn't realise that she was my daughter, because I never had sex with Linda. I did masturbate on the couch next to her when I was watching aerobics, and I used to have a bit of a habit of aerobics style in the 80s. Watching the aerobics and having a pull, it was pretty much normal for me to get that kind of relief. It was I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only bloke, because they all wore pretty skimpy outfits, or young person who had this problem. But yeah, it kind of annoyed her that I was masturbating next to her. She wanted to have a baby with my cousin, I knew that, but he didn't want to give her a baby because she was a heroin user, and he was already telling her that she wasn't going to have custody of her son, and that they were splitting up. And I had them having a conversation or an argument at one stage that she wanted to have a baby, and then they would have a kid each, and they could both get a pension, because yeah, my family's kind of a bit like households, myself included. You know, when I was a teenager, it was like we'd get stoned all the time. I was always stoned. Always on some kind of drugs, getting pissed, something like that, and almost, well, don't get me wrong, I used to work through this time too. I used to get stoned and go to work. We worked through all those years of some pretty crappy jobs too. The chicken factory was on live hanging, and was just like live chickens, hanging them up on the shackles to go around. I worked in the meat works as well. Some of the jobs is to split the sheep's or the lamb's skulls open and get the brains out. That was one of my jobs. So I did do some jobs. I did do a lot of jobs to get my drugs. It wasn't just like sell drugs and get it for free type thing. It was I did a lot of dirty jobs that nobody else really wanted to do, but they were plentiful. You know, you could walk into those jobs, you'd be stoned out of your brain. They wouldn't care, mate. They would just, you know, you want to do the job, come turn up and do the jobs. what I'm trying to say is that Dave didn't like Linda because she was on the heroin, and she had these friends, and she used to work as nights as well, and she had these friends who were very well tough. They were the career criminals type people, you know, they like security type people. And my cousin, one stage, me and my cousin was taking Linda to go and get some drugs for us, and these her friends came out, and they told my cousin, you know, was talking to him because he used to abuse Linda. He was an abusive person. He used to psychologically abuse me a lot, and he wasn't a very nice person sometimes. Other times he was good, man. He was one of the people who didn't see a problem of giving 15-year-old drugs all the time, which I was 15, and I used to love it because I could get stoned and I get it whatever I wanted. So I really felt like I was an adult. So that was good. I didn't mind. I would cop that shit what he give me just because it was easy to be an adult with that kind of. If I just cop it and just go around with them. But she told her friends that he was an abusive person, and they dragged him out of the car and give him a bashing. They beat him up, and she told him to go to the air house. So they were having a bit of a thing then, and that was a long time before Ashley was even a thought for Linda, I'm sure. But that very night, I think Dave was getting pissed off because she was getting into the heroin, and we were just mainly on softer drugs, and she wanted to get into this big stuff. You know, these people, they could get her and get us anything that we wanted. I think couldn't be sure because they weren't my friends. They were like friends of old people who I was in with type thing, or I was an understudy to, or whatever. But the thing I'm getting at is that this Linda, she took advantage of her position in at that time, and she's lied. She probably lied to the girl as to Ashley as well. She probably lied to her, saying, or whatever. I don't know. I can imagine. As when I was getting a family photo once, it's on there on Facebook. I was getting a family photo done because my cousin James was leaving to go to Queensland, and the whole family was all there. We went to get one of my family steps up and says, "Let's get a family photo. We've got so many of us are here to see James off. Let's get a photo." And we were in like a hall, so that was everyone who was related to us. Well, James, who was related to James, and Gaynor, stood up and got our photos taken. And there was about 50 people in the photo, I'd say, probably 50 max. But was there, and my other cousin David Edgell, David McKechnie, was asking me stuff like, "Oh, have you got any kids?" Because I hadn't seen him in ages, like years. And David McKechnie and I I used to stay with my auntie Chrissy, and I used to hang out with David all the time at the Mousetrap. I started talking to him, and he's asked me, he said, "Have you got any kids?" I said, "No, I haven't got no kids." I believe like that. And after I was sitting at the table, and when I said, "No, I haven't got no kids," she pissed off, and I thought, was, what's wrong with her? I think I asked Dave. I said, what's wrong with her? And he just looked at me and said nothing. It's like that's the thing with my family. They don't really tell me what's going on, or what the plan is, or anything like that, or what my responsibilities are to these people. It's like, I think if they did, I would have asked a lot of questions about where these kids came from, what the story is. I mean, in another instance with another cousin, it was all kept from me, and I didn't know anything what was going on. And when I finally worked out what had happened, I was just like, wow, this isn't the first time it's happened. It's happened three times, maybe more. But this is one of the things what happens to me, because either people are interested to know how weird stuff happens around me because he called me another lamb, or how it is that there's this activity, supernatural activity around me, or you know, if I talk to a psychiatrist about it, or even pastors or people in church, you know, it's some kind of a hallucination what I'm going through, and not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, we need to keep things on a level where we're able to process them and deal with them accordingly. Because we're going around saying, I sold my soul, and so said I was another lamb, and then people's asking me how they overcome. It's just, it quickly gets out of proportion, and people, especially myself, becomes like, think that I'm somebody special, and that I'm somebody who's got supernatural powers or something. But it's a load of crap. I'm going just like everybody else. It's all there. It's only what people think themselves about what happened to me or whatever. Like the dead. That's where the word comes from. It's like magic. Is influencing the dead, demonology and that sort of thing. It can quite easily be seen as delusions of stuff what doesn't really happen, and you can't really prove anything. It's the same as I can't prove anything. I tried to get any paperwork that had to do with me being a parent to any children, and I went into birth, deaths and marriages, and I said, can you provide me with any information about whether I'm recorded as a father to any children? And they said, no, we can't, you have to have a lawyer. And I was like, I had to have a lawyer, I have to go to a lawyer, sit with a lawyer and explain to them why it is that I need to find that information out. That's not for God's sake, I'm a parent. Just not being somebody got me to sign something or something like that. But yeah, apparently I need to have a lawyer to do that for me. So I wouldn't mind doing it, but you know what, I just couldn't be bothered with it because well, maybe I should. Maybe I should go and see a lawyer and find out if anybody has listed me as a parent on any official paperwork. Just to iron it out and get it factuated and adjusted, because I don't want people thinking that I had sex with some woman and abandoned the kid and deny any responsibility to it because I dislike the woman I had sex with or the child. It's like I'm a man who I can stand up and take accountability for all the things I've done in my life. some of the things. If you want to talk to me about it, then really you should just talk to me about it, and I will be quite open and honest with you, as I have with psychiatrists and psychologists as well. Unfortunately, I've been quite open with people who've asked me about stuff, and they haven't taken it well, and they wanted to make some kind of a permanent scar on my person, because I was so free with the information. I don't think people like to think what I've become, the sort of things that I've overcome in my life. That's the challenges that I've met, faced, and put behind me. It's been difficult alone. I would very much like to start a new life. When I went to church, 2005, and when I got more and more mature in my faith in Jesus and what had happened to me, to find a good woman who will be able to support me and being able to overcome sin and death and make the new start that I needed. But I've had a lot of problems from people who want to be able to overcome or make a mockery of people who really do overcome sin and death, and the establishment that they've made with Jesus as the master. It's very hard for them to accept that they need to be truthful and honest with people, and also repentant, to have the functional life that they want. It's much more attractive to some people that it be a big joke, and it'll be a big a fool's game where nothing is as it seems, and anybody can do it. It may be the case with some things, but not everything. I mean, when it comes to taking peace into your heart and being able to help people to overcome the problems they are facing, it takes special training. It's not just your experience in life that can lead you to that. It takes special training to be a good counsellor. It takes special training to be a good pastor, or it takes special training to be a good psychiatrist. It's like you can't expect to be able to help people on the levels of expertise that an expert can. Though I try, and other people try to help me too, but if you're really in doubt, you should seek the advice of an expert. Yeah. So in that, I think that I'm saying to myself that I really need to go and see a lawyer about this and get it sorted. Because it's unfair that it should go down in history that there was something that all happened outside the courts, and these people can just bring kids into the world and carry on some kind of breeding program or whatever with the DNA of like a royal family or something. It's just dysfunctional. I think what I'm going to do is go and see a lawyer and drag a lot of this stuff that's been hidden in the dark by people, that's been hidden away, and people who have tricked me were brought out in the open, at least for me to make an attempt to bring them out into the open where they can be accounted for in history for what they did. and how they sought to achieve the problems that they had to overcome the problems that they faced. It will be good to see that. So yeah, not so much of a fun time today with what I've had to say, but it's been enlightening, and it's been good to be able to talk things out aloud. And I can't reiterate this enough, that time, or probably a majority of the time, prayers that you say when you speak out aloud, your prayers, and you're hearing your own voice talk through some of the problems you are facing, you think differently in your mind about how you can overcome those problems. In my family, there seems to be a lot of psychological abuse that goes on, and with friends as well. There seems to be a lot of psychological abuse that goes on, and I think that it's cowardly, it's manipulative, it's derogatory, it's self-defeating, or not it's oppressive. It can sort of incite a lot of dysfunctional thoughts within the person that they're attacking. Like me myself, I've tried to commit suicide heaps of times, and over the years I haven't really tried. I have never tried since I have given my life to Jesus in 2005. And got baptised at Paradise Community Church. Is now the Influencers Church. It's Assembly of God, and the people there was really, well, can't really say that there was a specific support group, but the groups that I chose to go along to, I picked up some very helpful information, and received some awesome prayers, and people spoke over my life, and really made it what it is today. But at the same time, we've got some of the opposition who have spoken the opposite. So that's just how powerful the name of Jesus is. And you can record how successful you've been in your repentance and rebirth by how much opposition you cop to it. And the worst things, the worst things are that you overcome, the more opposition you have to your being able to overcome those things. I mean, I've been gone through the courts for like armed robbery. I've gone through the courts for theft and stealing and assaults and all sorts of crimes that are forgivable, obviously, because I'm not in jail for a long time, but there's some people that don't like to see you overcome the problems that you developed as a result of your dysfunctional way of dealing with things. They don't want you they don't really want you to overcome your addictions. They sort of want to push you into a loop where you don't actually make it. You don't actually make it out of those that section that they put you in. It's like that's your that's the little space that you're supposed to be in. There's no way you're going to go into any other space. That's the space we've chosen for you, and they're unable to process They're unable to accept that when you overcome the problems you face, then you are able to make other choices. But what I say about being able to overcome sin and death, forget it. It's not going to be able to help you at all in any way, shape or form for anything like forever. To overcome sin and death, you will really need to look to Jesus, the King of Heaven, and the Bible, and the religious groups that surround the churches, the different groups. There's a lot of people that are really they've lost their friends and family to suicide because of drugs and abuse and neglect. Some mothers have killed themselves because they neglected their kids, and some fathers have killed themselves because they've abused their kids. So some parents just kill themselves because they're drug addicts and are unable to look after their kids. It's just like people don't want to let them out of that box, and it's just like in church. You meet people who's in there, they're looking for reasons why these things happen, and I went to church looking for reasons why things happen to me. When I went into the Kilburn Community Centre, there was a small Assembly of God church there. All of a sudden there was women started turning up there, and they were all topless, and that they're walking around in the church topless, and I'm thinking, what are these women doing in a church topless? What's the point of this exercise? And I still can't work it out, other than to say that maybe there's some real low lives out there who want to try and put a price on everything, and say that. But the people who was at that church that day, they said to me from their hearts, I could hear it from their hearts, you can't help somebody like that. Somebody who's willing to do something like that, you can't help them. You can't help them to see it any other way than the way they see as beneficial. So it makes me wonder why women would want to go to church topless. But at the same time, I think that's their way of telling God where they think they belong in the world. That's the price what they put on themselves. And we all like to think we're valuable, and I don't imagine they would have done it for nothing. And there was more than one. It was like a group of women went through the church. I think there was about at least 3 of them, I think. Fortunately, there was no kids there on that day, which sort of made me think. And the pastor at the church, he did have a funny look on his face. He had like a big grin on his face, and his eyes were popping out of his head. It was like I don't think it was an influence that was any good to anybody. But these are all things that I've witnessed, and hopefully in the future I can bring these things up, and people can understand where it is that this group of people who thinks they can use me as the lamb are really coming from. It's like a mockery of Jesus. I think that there's an entire cult that's dedicated to making a mockery of Jesus and everything that will lead you to have a full and productive life. That's it. That's where I'm at today. We'll probably go on for a little longer, but we're doing 40 minutes or so. So let's leave it at that. And I hope you enjoyed hearing what I have to say, and that you will tune in another time to hear more stuff about, well, not just me, about the people who think that they're going to overcome by something I said. Thank you. Goodbye.